Welcome to Behind the Scope. This video is designed to talk you through a little bit about what I do when I go ratting, the equipment, methods and FAQs behind that. The questions have come from various conversations on Instagram, face-to-face conversations, questions on YouTube and airgunforum.co.uk. The idea of the video came from a conversation I had with someone on airgunforum.co.uk who was asking for some tips and tricks and advice. So I said I'll put together the video and try and answer some of the commonly asked questions and offer some advice and information on what I do and how I do it. The video is aimed at non-shooters and rat shooters that are new to the sport. That's people who've just come to the YouTube channel and wondering what I do and why I do it, and also to people who are new to the sport and want to learn a little bit, pick up some tips and some advice as they go. It's not really aimed at experienced shooters or non-rat shooters. However, please feel free to watch the video. Let me know if you pick up any tips or tricks as you go. That's the primary reason that I watch other people's channels, because I learn stuff from them and apply it to my methods when I go shooting. So let's get into the video. It all begins at harvest. Ratting season, so to speak, opens at harvest. People often think you're a bit mad when you say ratting season. They just think rats are around all year, and they're right, they are. They're around all the time. However, harvest and winter months are when we see more of them. And the reason for that is because of the cold weather. Harvest time will mobilise rats because what we're doing is we're taking away their food source and we're breaking up their nesting sites out in the fields. Where they're out there across the summer, they're breeding and feeding, they're taking the seed, the crops, the wheat, the barley, etc., and they're having a whale of a time. Once we start combining all of that, taking away all of that feed, destroying the nest when we plough the fields, then they get on the go. First frost is something else you need to look out for. When first frost arrives, rats will be forced out of the fields and they'll be on the hunt for warmer nesting sites. Those sites will be things like barns, there'll be buildings, outbuildings, there'll be pallet stores, anywhere nearer the farm where they can get some shelter. They will seek cover and the warmth of buildings, in barns, etc., and they will try and stay there through the duration of this bad weather. You'll often see rats out and about in the rain, but they'll be doing that because they're hungry and they're out and about looking for food, looking for nesting material to build their nests with. They will remain in the buildings and around the farms during the cold snap to increase survival rates. They are warm-blooded, they do have a low life expectancy, they have a high mortality rate, and anything they can do to increase survival rates, they will do. Animal feed, grain stores, etc., all the feed that you've got in for the animals during the winter months provides ample and free feed for the rats, and they will feast on it. Deliveries, pallets, boxes, storage areas are all guaranteed rat hotspots. So when you're out shooting, the two most important things when you're ratting are the two things that you are responsible for: comfort and safety. Wear warm, comfortable clothing when you're out. My experience, I would suggest you wear multiple layers, and the reason I say that is because you can rack up some miles when you're walking around a large site. Multiple layers will allow you to build up heat quickly, retain heat quickly because you've got the heat trap between the multiple layers of clothing, and it also helps keep the wind out. If you get too warm, you can derobe, take some layers off, chuck them to one side and carry on. If you get cold, you can chuck them back on again. If you've just got a t-shirt and a coat, you can't do that. You need to be comfortable because then it keeps your wits about you and it keeps you safe. Make sure all batteries are charged a day before. Now, I say this because sometimes you might be in a rush to get out. You could be held up at work and you're late home. You could be tied up with the kids. So you want to get out as quick as possible so it doesn't eat into your shooting time. If all your batteries are charged a day before and all your bags are packed, you know you just got to pick them up and you can go. Make sure you take extra spares, or extra batteries should I say, for heavy drain gear, and that could be things like IR illuminators, it could be things like cameras or torches. You might only plan to be out for an hour, but you might end up being out for 3 or 4, and if you haven't got the equipment powered, it's going to cut your shooting session short. Have a good meal before you go out. Don't take food or drink with you. The reason I say that is because when you're out and about, you're at a ratting permission. You're going to be places where there's rat urine and feces. You don't want to be eating a packet of crisps or a bar of chocolate. You want to make sure nothing goes in your mouth, and then you know that you're clean. You start ingesting rat feces and rat urine, you're going to end up ill. That said, I do take a can of Coke with me when I go shooting, but I leave that in the car because it's like a fridge. And after I finish the shoot, I wash my hands with fairy liquid and water, which I keep in the boot, and also alcohol gels to make sure I'm clean. Crack open the can of Coke and I'm off home. Make sure you've packed your shooting permission and your insurance documents. This is important. Getting your permission is one thing. Going and seeing the landowner and the estates manager, whoever it may be, getting them to sign a permission slip is fine. Excellent, you've done your job. Don't take it home and stuff it on a shelf, because you do that, you'll forget about it. You could be out on a shooting permission, somebody sees you on the land with a air rifle, they don't know who you are, they call the police. The police come out and ask what you're doing there. You can't get in touch with the landowner or the estates manager for whatever reason. You now have to explain to the police what you're doing on private property with an air rifle, and they'd be looking at you with a smile on their face because you're looking at armed trespass. If you've got your paperwork with you, even if you keep it in the car, stuff it in the glove box, keep it in a box, whatever you want to do, keep it in the car. If the police are called out, they can come to your car, you can show them the paperwork, and you're all good to go. Always take a fully charged mobile phone with you for your safety. So if you're ever in trouble and you need to contact 112 or 999 or friends or family, you can do that. Just while we're on that point, I want to cover this app, What 3 Words. It's a new app, fairly new. I don't think it's been certified for use, but I've been told, and I've read various articles and reports, that the emergency services do use this. The way it works is the company involved have mapped the globe into 57 trillion locations. Each location is a 3 by 3 meter square, and each one of these units is given 3 words allocated to it. So in the example on screen here, that particular square, that 3 by 3 square that was being mapped out, is mapped to Loud, Fame, Sport, and it's a place in Clifton in York. Now if you put that into What 3 Words, it will take you to the exact location of where that is. The idea behind this is that if you're ever in trouble, you can contact the emergency services, and if you haven't got an app to be able to tell them your GPS location and they can't locate you through cell triangulation in a tight enough location, they can ask you for these 3 words. They'll key them into What 3 Words system, and it will tell them the exact location to within a 9 meter square of where you are. They can punch that into their sat navs and they can find you. Like I said, I don't know if it's been endorsed. I don't know too much about it, but I've got it on my phone just in case. And don't take my word for it, check it out for yourself. But I want to cover it here just in case. And just remember, often you're going to be shooting alone, so always tell someone where you are in case of an accident. In my case, I've got my permissions and the contacts listed out on a notice board at home, and if I'm not home after several hours, 4 or 5 hours, then my wife knows there's a problem and she can give me a call, and if I'm not in touch, if I don't pick up the phone, she can call the estates managers or the landowners to get in touch. It's worth it just for your own peace of mind and your own safety. Clothing is vitally important. You have to make sure you're comfortable, because otherwise you're going to be miserable when you're out. One of the most important things that I'll put down is footwear. If your feet are cold, wet, soggy, you're just going to hate the whole time that you're out. Jack Pike do some awesome boots. I had the Jack Pike Tundras. I had those for about 5 years, but recently they started taking on water and squeaking. And they're squeaking when I was standing there. So I thought I was hearing rats, and I'm trying to pinpoint these rats, but then I realised it was the boots. So anyway, time to give up on those. They went down in the dump. I bought a set of Tundra 2s. They're lighter, smaller, tighter, and they are fantastic. I would highly recommend looking at these if you want a pair of good hunting boots. I wear Scruff's work trousers. Now that's probably going to be a surprise because you're probably expecting camo or something like that, but these are just work trousers that you would find at B&Q, Wicks, any sort of DIY store. The reason I wear them is they're lightweight, they're comfortable, they fit well, there's lots of pockets and lots of zips, and they're quite hardy, tough material, and they're fantastic when you're out and about. I wear Jack Pike English Oak over jacket. Now the English Oak bit doesn't really matter, it's more the fact that it's an over jacket. It's warm, it's dry, it's breathable, and lots of pockets for storage and junk and that sort of thing when you're out and about. You don't want to be carrying bags and sacks, you want to try and carry everything on you if you can, but still try and cut that back as much as possible. Real Tree camo t-shirt, I wear that as a base layer. I also sometimes, if it's a cold night, wear an additional t-shirt just from the house underneath that. But again, don't worry so much about the fact it's Real Tree, it's just the fact that it's a t-shirt just as a base layer. I wear a jumper as well, it just happens to be camo, and that provides a nice warm layer between the t-shirt and the jacket. And I've started to wear a Takvasan long sleeve top. Takvasan is just the make, it's just an Amazon product that I bought, or well, I got for Christmas, and it provides just that extra layer. It's got pockets in the arms, it's a snugger fit, it's really quite nice. I also wear an outdoor breathable fishing vest. Now this doesn't really do much for warmth because it's fishnet, but it provides a lot of pockets, a lot of storage, and there are literally pockets in the back, in the shoulders, and around the arms, the front, and it provides quite wide pockets so I can put the night fishing equipment in. And I also carry a first aid kit in there. I carry disposable gloves and rubbish bags. I wear a beanie or a baseball cap. That's generally if it's cold, otherwise I don't bother. The beanie I got for Christmas actually was it's got a nice LED light in the front, so if I'm reloading magazines or I need to do something close up, I just press the button on the head and it'll light up in front of me. Black nitrile disposable gloves. These are probably, besides the boots, one of the most important things when you're ratting. You need to make sure you don't touch anything. Don't touch urine, don't touch feces. These gloves are a nice tight fit. They're very sturdy, flexible, and they're actually quite warm. They provide that barrier between the biting wind and your hands. They're a bit more expensive than the latex ones or the normal rubber ones you would buy, but I buy them in boxes off Amazon and I just stuff handfuls of them into the clothes that I wear. I would recommend them. Have a look at them, try them, they're absolutely brilliant. I also take out with me a Zippo hand warmer, and the reason I do this is if it does get cold during the day, I kind of have a look, and if I know it's going to be cold in the night, pop the cap off it, take the little, it's got a little inner cap if you like, where it has a catalyst in, take that off, fill it full of lighter fuel or fuel, cap back on, set fire to it, and there you go. You get 6 to 12 hours use out of that. It's really nice bit of kit, and it's just enough to take that bite off your hands and get your hands working again if you need to use your trigger finger. Now the camo pattern design I've mentioned in all of these doesn't really matter if you're shooting at night. It's more for if you're shooting rabbits or squirrels, corvids, etc. out in the fields. Just so happens that that's my shooting equipment, so that's what I wear. If you're shooting at night, just don't wear anything reflective. Make sure it's dark if you've got dark. You know, nothing that's going to make you stand out if any lights come on or you're shining torches about. The shooting setup is, again, probably just as important as the equipment that you're wearing. So I'll run you through what I use. I do get asked this quite a lot. What shooting equipment do I use? What rifle do I use? What sight have I got, etc. So the rifle that I use is an ARPC Ultimate Sporter S510, sub 12 foot-pounds in 177. On top of that, I've got an ATN-X sight, 4K Pro, 3 to 14 by 50. That's a digital night scope, day and night scope. On that, I have the ATN ABL 1000 laser rangefinder. Now that pairs with the scope via Bluetooth, and then if you activate the ballistic calculator on the scope, you can do on-the-fly calculations for range adjustment just by pinging the target. On the side of that, I have a unique Fire T67 850nm infrared illuminator. I set that to about midway between a spot and a flood, and that gives me just the perfect coverage, and I always use it on full power, and that really illuminates everything up front. And the digital processor on the scope means that you don't get whiteout that you could get with some night sight stuff. It really is fantastic bit of kit, that combination. I use Primos Gen 2 trigger sticks. Now they allow me to quickly expand into the tripod. I can clamp them back together if I want to use them as a monopod. They're very easy to collapse down and lift up, and They are absolutely superb for standing up in any condition, because there's a small lever on the front, clamp the lever and you can adjust it, and you can shoot on a slope and have a steady flat surface to shoot from. They are fantastic. I would highly recommend, if you want a nice stable shot in any condition, have a look at those. The Nifox 100V 850nm IR spotter. Now this is, if you like, a set of binoculars. It has on the front an infrared illuminator and a lens. It has a 2x digital zoom, and I can switch it on, and it's got 7 different IR power levels and a focus wheel. I can put up to the eyes or hold it just in front of my eyes if I want, focus and scan around. That means I can put the rifle down. I don't have to worry about looking through the scope, don't have to be pointing the rifle at stuff just to get a look at it. I can use the spotter, find out where I need to be, pick the rifle up and use the scope. I also use a FLIR E40 thermal camera or spotter. This is a fantastic bit of kit. You'll see on some of the videos the thermal footage. Now this will spot a rat at about 40 or 50 yards away, and it'll spot a fox out to 100 yards. It's fantastic. When you step into thermal and you start using thermal, it's a complete game changer. It takes you into a world that you've never seen before, and it gives you a real leading edge on your quarry. I shoot GSB Exact Heavy Diablos, 10.34 grain, 4.5mm in 177. I also use a Tracer F300 Visible Red. Rats can't see red light, so what I do with this, I use this when I'm just sort of scanning about and I need to see visible light. Otherwise I would use a white torch, which I've got here. I use litter pickers for picking up the rats, and yellow biohazard waste bags that I put the rats in to make sure that landowners can see exactly what's in that bag. Frequently asked questions. So these are questions that I get asked face to face on Instagram, YouTube and forums, etc. So what I've done is I've picked about 15 or so. I've put them up and I want to try and answer them as quickly, as concisely and as honestly as I possibly can. I get questions like, do rats have good eyesight and a sense of smell? They don't have very good eyesight, but they do have a good sense of smell. Their eyes work independently of each other, and they see 2 different images of the world. The brain can process 2 different images at the same time, and it does that in slow motion. Anything that runs towards the rat will see it in slow motion and give it a chance to bolt. Rats can see a little bit in the dark, but again, with having poor eyesight, not that well. You'll often see in and around farms and barns, you'll see grease marks along walls, and you'll see specific runs, rat runs in the ground, and that's because rats like to get into a routine of running along a certain place. And the reason for that is they use kinesthesia, which is muscle memory. They run along a wall and they'll feel comfortable because they know the wall's on the left hand side. You put a brick in that pathway, they will stop at the brick, run around it and continue on. After that brick's been there a short time, take the brick away, the rat will still stop where the brick was, walk around the imaginary brick and continue on its run until it realises the brick's no longer there, and it will reset its muscle memory, if you like, and continue running along the wall. Can rats see infrared light from your illuminator? No. This I am sure of. Now this question comes up time and time again on forums, on YouTube videos. You'll often hear people saying that rat saw the infrared from my illuminator and ran. What it's probably ran for is because it's heard the click of the illuminator going on. The reason I'm so sure about this is, despite what people say and the experiences they've had, I'm going with the science on this, and science says they can't see red light. Humans have trichromatic vision, and you can see from the chart at the top that includes reds, greens, blues, yellows, all the colours that make up white light. Rats, however, have dichromatic vision. They physically cannot detect red light, and they can't detect infrared light. Until the science proves me wrong, I'm going to go with the science and say rats don't see red or infrared. I've only seen one rat. Should I be worried? Yes, and I'll explain why later. When shooting a rat in the head, it jumps in pain. Do I need a bigger caliber or more power? No. You see this question quite often, especially when people are shooting sub 12 air rifles in 177. They think because the rat's been shot in the head and it starts jumping and kicking that it's in pain. It's not. The 177 has more than enough power to take a rat down of 40 plus yards with a headshot. What you're seeing is disinhibition. Nerves fire randomly in the body and the brain inhibits that. It fires them in a specific order to allow the rat to walk, breathe, sleep, swallow, whatever. You shut down the brain with a pellet, disinhibition happens and the nerves start firing randomly. That's the kicking and the thrashing you're seeing. The animal's completely dead. It's purely nerves firing. What sort of hide should I use for ratting? You don't need one. Just make sure you're comfortable, you're quiet, and you can get good, clean, clear shots. Going back to the beginning there, the rats haven't got that good eyesight. You don't need to hide like you would in a field in daylight. Just make sure that your approach is calm and collected. In some of your videos you shoot rats in the chest but always promote headshots. Why? I do always promote headshots because it's the most humane kill. However, a heart and lung shot will kill the rat just as quickly, almost as quickly should I say, especially if you're using a decent pellet. Now I use GSB heavies. They are 10.34 grain, they're quite heavy and they're quite lethal. And when I say quite lethal, they are lethal. And they will kill a rat very quickly with a chest shot. What you're seeing is, if I shoot a rat in the chest, it will bolt off, but it will die very quickly when it bleeds out. The reason I sometimes do that is I'm there to get rid of the rats. It's not purely a sport. I promise to get rid of the rats, and if I can get a chest shot where I can't get a headshot, I'll take a chest shot. Do I need a thermal camera to hunt rats? No, you don't. Night vision is the best option. You can lamp using red lamps or something like that. It's pretty good, it's pretty effective. Infrared is the best. Thermal is just the next step up, and it can make a huge difference when you're ratting, but it's not necessary. It's not vital. How quickly do rats breed? This is a quality one. So rats breed very, very quickly indeed, which goes back to the question earlier on. I only have one rat, should I be worried? Now, just to give you an idea of how quick rats can breed, I believe the gestation period for a rat is around about 21 days or thereabouts. They can breed with each other, it's not a problem, and they reach sexual maturity when they're very, very young. So you have that one rat can have up to 12 rats in a litter, and shortly after that, when they reach sexual maturity, each one of these 12 rats have another 12 rats, and you are looking at 144 rats very, very quickly indeed, in a matter of a couple of months most likely. So you've got one rat, you've probably got more. Just bear that in mind. What do I use for rat bait? I use a mixture, a whole range of different things. Generally, if I'm going to a farm where there's grain or wheat or whatever, I don't use rat bait because they'll go after the feed that's there and the stuff that they're used to. Just try and leave piles of whatever's there to draw them out. If there's no food naturally in the area, one of the best things that I've found is liquidized cat food, salmon, cod, trout, that sort of thing. Blend that up in a food processor, chuck in some vegetable oil. Used vegetable oil is even better because it contains all the smells and aromas from whatever you've been cooking in. Mix all that together, throw in some raw eggs, make it a fairly thick consistency, splodge it down where you want it to be on the rat runs, and you're good to go. They will absolutely love that stuff and eat it all day long. What should I wear when hunting rats? Refer back to what we're talking about, what I wear. What I would suggest is just wear whatever you're warm and comfortable in. You don't have to wear camo, any expensive gear, just wear something that you're comfortable in. The rats aren't bothered as long as you're comfortable, safe and happy. What's the best time to go ratting? Best time is sunset. From sunset, what I've found in the past is you have a couple of hours where they start to come out and eat. Generally there's a little bit of a lull for an hour or two, sometimes depending on where you are. After that it'll pick up again and it can go on until the early hours of the morning. Full moon can be a problem sometimes because it can light you up and cast a shadow. Now, although the rats don't have very good eyesight, they can detect the shadow as you're walking around and that could deter them. It's never been a real problem for me, but just bear that in mind, and always try to go out when, ideally when it's not raining. If you've just had heavy rain during the day, that's often a good time to go out on the evening because their nests will be flooded, they'll be out and about trying to find somewhere else to move to, and they'll be out hunting for food. But definitely sunset through to the early hours of the morning. Why don't I ever see rats in the daytime? Well, because they're normally nocturnal, and that's because there's less predators about for them. And you can see rats during the day, they are around all the time. There was something I read a while back saying if you see one rat in the day, you'll see 10 at night. I don't know how true that is, just a general rule of thumb. Some permissions or some farms, rats are more active during the day, and that's most likely because there's barn owls on that permission, and the barn owls are active at night, so rats can change their behaviour, and rather than be active at night where they're going to be attacked and eaten, they'll most probably come out during the day when it's safer. So just bear that in mind. Can I use torches when out ratting, or will this scare them off? Red torch is fine, just don't shine it straight into a rat's face because it will cast a shadow. They won't see the red, but it'll cast a bit of a shadow and it'll scare them off and they'll run. Don't use white light. We can see white light, they can see white light, and they will definitely see that and they'll bolt. So yes, use torches. When you're walking around with the torch, keep it down to the ground and walk with it just far enough in front of you that you can see where you're going. Don't shine it around, because if you do that, you cast it over a rat, it's off, you've lost your chance. Keep it just in front of you. Use your ears more than your eyes when you're out as well. What scope am I using? I'm using the ATN Excite 4K Pro 3 to 14 by 50. Absolutely belting bit of kit. Absolutely love it. It's Ultra HD recording and it's got onboard image processing, and as I said earlier on, when you pair that up with the ATN ABL ballistic rangefinder, you can connect up the ballistic calculator on board on the scope and it will adjust the crosshairs to where they need to be for the range that you've pinged your target at. It's a beautiful bit of kit. Absolutely love it. How can rats run after being shot on the chest? Because they run on adrenaline. So they take a chest shot, instant pain, they bolt. The adrenaline kicks in, powers the heart, and they're off. They quickly burn out though, because they bleed out very quickly and they die. Again, where possible, do a headshot. If that's not possible, upper body shot's fine if you've got a good solid pellet. Surely poison is more humane than shooting. No, it's not. Rats can die slowly over days or weeks with poison, and a poisoned rat becomes disoriented and it can wander out of the nest. If you have a poisoned rat out in the field, out in a farmyard, that can be picked up by barn owls or other birds of prey. As a result, they could die from secondary poisoning. Now, rats, if the poison doesn't kill them, they will probably just not eat it again. If they survive, they won't eat it again. So that's how poison sometimes loses effectiveness on a rat or a rat nest, because they learn very quickly what makes them ill to stay away from. If you're going to poison them, make sure it's controlled, the poison's kept away, kept safe. I would never touch poison. I wouldn't recommend it. Shooting is more humane. Quick shot to the head and the down. Sometimes you can bag up more rats in one night than poison can in a couple of weeks. It just depends on the environment and where you're shooting. Do landowners know you share footage online? Yes. What I do is when I go out for the first permission, I say that I record the footage, and I do say that I share it with the community, as it were. What I do, however, is make sure that it contains the shot only. I don't include any footage of the farm, of the buildings, of the location, any GPS positions, absolutely nothing like that. It's always just the shots. I might describe what I am doing, where I am, what's in the shot, what's in the area, etc. But that's it. On some previous shoots where I was shooting at the recycling centre, I blanked out the skips, I blanked out logos, telephone numbers, and I also cut out web addresses, etc. I don't want anything at all identifying the land, the landowner, or the property. So that keeps them anonymous, if you like, and it keeps your shoot anonymous. So yes, they do know. I always tell them from the start, but I always make sure there's only the shot that's in there. This is the fun part, stalking the rats. Now, You can stand at a distance if you want and take shots at the rats, 25, 30, 40 yards, that's absolutely fine. Sometimes quite fun to stalk them and get up close. If you're going to do that, take your time, don't rush. If the rats are active and you miss a chance, it will come round again because they're active and they're buzzing and they're looking for food. Don't rush it and ruin it. Be quiet, and of course make sure your phone's on silent. Rats generally have good hearing. They hear your phone vibrate, or they hear it ring, or they hear you creeping up on them, they're gonna go. Get as close as possible. It's possible to get as close as a few yards on rats in total darkness if you're quiet. I've been as close as 5 yards from one and it was an ugly thing. But some of my shots for the videos that I do are sort of 7 and 8 yards. So that gives you a nice close vision or a nice close bit of footage. And they don't hear me. So I creep up very, very quietly, have the rifle on the shoulder, I place down the shooting sticks, I swing the rifle off the shoulder in a full circle so as it doesn't catch anything, lay it on the shooting sticks, I switch the illuminator on in a direction that I know is not directly on the rat, and I swing it across onto the rat, focus it in, ping it, take the shot. Don't use strong smelling soaps or aftershaves as this can carry in the wind and push rats away. Now this is an important point. You might smell nice, the rats don't like it though. As soon as they're smelling strong aftershaves or perfumes, they're going to be gone. So if you've got shooting stuff, shooting clothing, etc., don't wash it. Just wear it time and time and time again. If it does need to be cleaned or rinsed or washed, what I do with mine is I take it off, chuck it in the washer on a 40-degree wash, no detergent, nothing at all, and a spin, take it out, hang it up dry, back in the garage, and I'll leave it there. Walk as softly as possible when closing in on your rat. Don't stomp your feet down, place them down. So don't walk as if you're walking down the street. Think about where you're putting your feet, especially if you're on soft ground. What I generally do is if I'm on soft ground and I'm walking, so I'm on my feet and I put my left foot forward, I go down on the left side of my foot and roll down the outside and then put my foot down. Same, then onto the right, same again. If the stick's in the way, I use the toe of the foot that I'm going to put down to move them. Then I roll back down on my foot again. And that keeps it quiet and soft. If I'm on concrete, just bear in mind that you could be making a stomping noise. They will hear it, they will detect the vibration, and they will go. So don't plod around. Place your feet down and think about it. Otherwise, you're going to lose your shot. And also, keep your clothes from rustling and creaking. This might not sound like much, but when you're walking around, if you've got like a shell skin jacket on or something and it's creaking, and rustling in the wind, or with your arms moving, they're going to hear that and they're going to be long gone. Wear soft clothes, wear stuff that doesn't make a noise, and you should be good to go. Most importantly, don't rush your shot. An injured or distressed rat does squeal very, very loud, ultrasonic levels in fact, and other rats will hear that and run and hide. Also, you shoot a rat and it bolts off down into the nest and it's not dead, you'll not get any more rats out of that nest, I'll tell you now. You need to make sure that you get a good clean headshot on the rat, or a good clean upper body shot if it's well away from the nest is fine, but don't rush it, take your time, get that kill and get that rat recovered as well. That's just as important as killing them, because you don't really want a rat to disappear under a pallet into a wall and die slowly. Okay, I've talked for long enough. Hopefully I've covered enough for those of you just new to the sport and we're looking for some information, tips and tricks, and also those of you who are experienced shooters, maybe you've picked up a couple of tips, any snippets of information that could help you when you're out ratting. I'm going to wrap the video up here, and I've got one thing to say, and that is thank you for watching.